right. Greetings, family. Greetings. We
Greetings.
are back. The clarity code. Here we go. Thank you for tapping in. Are we good to go, Brother Cameron?
Good to go, brother Omar.
All right. The clarity code. So we're here decoding the unseen and unlocking the inner power and activating the clarity in a noisy world. This is the space to align with truth and tap into purpose and rise. Let's just get it clear. Before we do that, I did want to say that we are having some special events coming up. And let's see if we can help you out with that. We're having the Purple Sage on June 28th. We're also having an ice plunge on June 15th in Lodi in Raw Fitness. And we're also having a combo session, which is this Sunday. So if anybody's interested, if you know anything about this powerful medicine, it comes from a frog and it works on your peptides. So if you know anything about it, let us know. Stick around to the end and we'll help you out with all of that. So, Brother Cameron, I just wanted to get into it real quick, man, and let you know that just yesterday I was thinking about, where my life has come and the journeys that has come through. And I was actually the type of person that I didn't want anybody in my house. Like,
Mm,
just call me first. I didn't want you to come. And, I had all of these walls that were up. I just didn't want anyone to come in and I didn't want to put anything out. It's not that love wasn't coming to me or any openness or friendships or anything like that. It's just that I just felt that, there was so much betrayal out there. I came from the streets, from a hard place, and my upbringing was quite rough and sometimes. And some of these things, they make a strong impact when you're a kid and they stick with you. You know, so but it was only until, my wife helped me a lot too. She came to me. She said one day, what if you allow yourself to be seen?
mm.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks, man. It's like I broke down many times, bro. Like tears started flowing that didn't come like for many years, man. But it gave me a chance to open up and just to allow it. I said, man, let me try to loosen the grip that I had on something that was holding me back. I felt like right here in my chest area, everything was just closed in, like a cage. But if you know anything about the heart, Cameron,
Right.
the heart doesn't like to be caged in.
Oh,
It won't. It speaks in whispers, and in codes, and it speaks to you in your dreams and things like that. But it's always there wanting to be released. So it took me a while to figure this out. And then I'm just on this mission, like just to keep my heart open and keep my life open and be as compassionate as I can and loving. And it took quite a work, to do these things. And even still, I'm still working on it, brother.
yeah. The heart wants to express itself. And sometimes we get in the way of that with intellect and turns into a crisis, one form or another. I'll speak for myself when I say that. And then just for people I've seen in general, because whether they're not being themselves. And we kind of touched on it last week too, where someone may want to say something come off of their heart, but their throat doesn't, is not ready to let that express for
Mhm.
whatever reason. Maybe it's because of, something from childhood they were told to shut up, or maybe just because, any type of trauma. Maybe they were embarrassed one time when they spoke up, whatever it is. Then
Mhm.
we don't speak our truth, or people don't speak their truth, and then they suffer because of it.
Yeah, speaking about the truth, we are on the Wake Up Radio, correct?
That's right. That's
Let's give a big shout out, man. Go ahead, let it go.
we are also broadcasting live on onthewakeupradio.com. That's onthewakeupradio.com. On the Wake Up Radio, for anybody who may not know, because I know we have our regular listeners on this line, but then we have some people listening through your channel who may not be aware of On the Wake Up Radio and what it is. So we want to give a big shout out to super producer Cindy Ashby as we're broadcasting this week.
Much respect, brother.
Yeah, much respect. Where's that horn at? We've been getting played.
Cindy, keep it down. She's holding it down for
Yeah,
real for a lot of us, man.
right.
She's great. She's great. She's sending me some messages too, man. Just when I need them.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. And going back to what you were saying, talking about the heart, brother. It's like, you
mhm,
know, uh, like I said, I think it's great what you're doing with the men's retreats and the rites of passage programs and creating that environment for the brothers because like we're two men out here, we're two brothers out here, so we get to speak from our perspective about what we're seeing, how we experience, this world, how we experience relationships. And I want to give a shout out to your wife because, big shout out to your wife for many things, but right now for creating the environment where you can break down and have some tears in front of her, you know?
Mhm.
And that there's something to be said about that because as a man, one, you don't want to break down in front of your woman, and then and a lot of that comes from I think this society that we live in right now, where we're told that men don't cry and men don't show their emotions. And, you know, a lot of brothers are walking around with hurt where they've maybe expressed their emotions to a woman. Maybe they were in a relationship with this woman and that woman shut that down, made him
Mhm.
feel less than
Mhm.
because of that interaction. So now that just caused him to go in. I mean, I've I could I've got stories for days. Like
Mhm.
when you see, let's say you see a man out there who's dogging out women. Like I can almost guarantee he didn't begin that way. He didn't just come out the womb that way. But he was probably hurt by a woman,
Mhm.
and now he's like f these hoes and all this other stuff. And
Mhm.
I'm basically, whether it's conscious or unconscious, I'm gonna do to them what this one did to me.
Okay. Right, right, right. That's true. The strength really comes from, it doesn't come from guarding, the heart. It comes when you're choosing to keep it open. When it's been broken, that's where the
Mm,
strength comes in.
mm,
You know, just
right,
allow it,
right.
allow it. It's a tough one because especially where I come from, it's like you don't want to show too many emotions like that. Nah, you don't. We're groomed that way, and it affects us deeply, and it prevents us from rising up. You
Right,
know.
right. And
Mhm.
and I'm glad you said that too, because when I'm doing my work, I'm a massage therapist and I'm stretching people out. I'll tell you an example, right? I was working on a brother today. I was chair massaging. He said he had a shoulder injury from basketball, around 39 years old. He's a grown man. He said he had an injury maybe 5 years ago, right? And every time I went to pull his arm, he was pulling back. You all right, brother? Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm good. And then I had to and I was, because the work that I do, I really get into the nervous system, the central nervous system, psyche. And so, I'm kind of walking the brother through, like, you okay? Is this painful? He said, no, not yet. Saying that, no, not yet. You
Mhm.
realize you're pulling. Oh no, I didn't even know I was doing it. He's pulling hard. Now, and this is why when I'm working on people, I do my best not to go too deep into their energy field unless we agree to do energy work. Because when I see someone like that, I see someone who's been hurt in their life. This is someone who's doing this, pulling away, and doesn't even know that they're pulling away. You know? And so, and the stories that he's telling himself. Any move I made with the shoulder, I said, is it hurting? He said, no, it's not hurting. It feels weird, but it's not hurting. But he's doing this pulling thing. He's pulling away. And so it was something you said. I don't even know how I got to this, but it's something that you said. Oh yeah, right. The heart, we have that tendency to close up and tighten up when we feel hurt, right? We do like this, bring it close and tense up. But when I'm stretching somebody out, I'm working them through releasing. I tell them, hey, look, you want to breathe into the reach. If you feel like you're clenching up, allow your muscles to release.
Mhm.
Exact opposite. And people, especially men, are gonna think that, oh, it's hurting or it's uncomfortable. Let me tighten up, but then it's gonna hurt even more. I've had people, I was stretching them out, and then they start tightening up even more, and it hurts even. Oh, it's hurting. Oh, it's hurting. And they, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hurting because you're tightening it up. But if you can just do like this,
Mm.
then
Mm.
it's not gonna hurt. It's not gonna
Right.
hurt as much. And it's the same thing what you're describing with the heart, where if people
Mm.
allow it to be open and allow their heart to open up, then
Mm.
it's less painful. That people tend to hold on to. It's easier to hold on to what doesn't serve us than it
Mm.
is to release it. That's what
Right.
I've learned in my
Mm.
experience.
I love that. That's deep. That's deep. You know, and it's a very strange thing too that is tied to our breath, right? It's tied to the breath. Because when we feel nervous, we feel anxious, the first thing is we're not breathing properly. We're breathing extremely shallow. We're dream. Yeah, like if you've ever had a panic attack, because I have, yeah,
Right,
I've had a full blown,
right.
like, yeah, like man, the brown paper bag and all that wasn't helping. Nothing. Like
Mhm.
my heart was going and everything. I was like, what is this? It's a panic attack. That's
Mm,
to do with your emotions. Your mind is, convincing you that whatever you're thinking and what's may or may not be happening really is happening. You know, so
right.
sometimes that happens, especially like in relationships. I mean, I've been through many things. I mean, I've been with my wife for more than 20 years, and in the beginning it was rough going, and then when things started clearing up, like I started finding who I am and standing in my power and letting go of all of these negative things. My wife occasionally was still on the old program. And I was like, oh no, we changed the channel on that one already. And
Mm,
she was still on 5 when I was on 8. I was like, you
mm,
gotta, and it didn't go over well, and I was like, hey, no, wait a minute, wait a minute. We got to talk about this, like, because now none of them things they're not even true anymore. I'm not that person anymore. Some
right.
things happened in my life. I experienced some things that were deeply deep and profound, and it changed me. It
Mm,
changed me because people do change. I'm a living testament,
right.
and I changed. I made a 360-degree turn. I was this totally other guy, like a get over, and I was an opportunist, and I was substance abuse, and infidelities, and lying, and cheating, and stealing, and all those kind of things. And I'm totally the other side of that now.
Mm,
So it's
right,
possible.
right, right. And I like what you said. I was thinking about you earlier too with the breath, because I think right now, I think the single most important thing we can do on any given day
Mhm.
is breathe,
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
right?
Yep.
If there's anything more important, let me know. But I think the single most important thing we can do on any given day is to breathe. And because of
Mhm.
that I was just thinking about this. I was thinking about you earlier. I said, I'm gonna bring this to the show tonight. And
Mhm.
so I was thinking about how much a piece of the technology that is our body that is, right?
Mhm.
The fact that we have to pay attention and the fact that it happens consciously and unconsciously at the same time. You can be
Mhm.
conscious of your breath or you can be unconscious. I was in a medicine ceremony one time, brother, and this tripped me out because in this ceremony I died a bunch of times. And I'm pretty sure I didn't die, but I died. And I
Mhm.
experienced my death and other people's deaths, and it was crazy. It was crazy to
Mhm.
experience someone else's death,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And as I was going down, I had to lie down. My body was forcing me to lay down, and the forces that the forces around me were forcing me to lay down. So I laid down, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm in this place. I'm dealing with this medicine." I said, "If I'm gonna die, at least let me look cool when I die." Saying, let them find me like a G. you know. So and it got to the point because I was doing my qigong breathing. I was breathing so deeply, and it got to the point where I was like, if I don't consciously continue to breathe, then my body's gonna stop breathing.
Mhm.
That's how
Mhm.
tapped in I was to my technology. I was like, oh. This is why it's unconscious, because if we had to consciously think about breathing, you know how many people would just give up? Like, well, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. This shit is getting enough.
Yeah. It would be too much. It would be too much. It would be take too much labor.
Too much labor. And that's the wisdom of the body, and that's the wisdom of the technology that is our body,
Mm,
is that we
appreciate.
have we have the option not to think about it day in and day out. But if we want to tap into it, we can tap into it,
Ooh.
and go deeper into our bodies and the technology that is our bodies. And
Yeah.
so that's just the introduction into what this vessel actually is the
Mm,
breath. And the
mm,
reason that my opinion, my observation is the reason that we are so um involved and so closely involved with it is because it's a reminder to us that this is an access or a gateway into the body.
yes, into the soul, in the deepness of very essence. It's breath. It definitely is, and it's tied to so many things too. You know, our physical being, our wellness, and our emotions too. Definitely our emotions, bro.
Brother.
Definitely. When you're excited, you're like, oh,
Mhm.
you know, when you're upset, ooh, when I'm mad, like I actually feel my breath is hot.
It's hot.
How is that crazy? Like I'm hot, I'm upset, and I feel the breath coming out, like because usually it's cool, but
Mhm.
no, I feel it hot too.
That's your exhaust system.
Mm-hmm.
Body's letting off that exhaust
Mm-hmm.
because you got
Mm-hmm.
the heat and the fire moving around in the body, the heat and the fire that's stirred up by the emotions.
Right, right.
The
It's
ancients knew this stuff.
oh for sure, for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I was thinking about that, how we are in we're in the times that we live in a very high technologically advanced society, but we have these bodies that are ancient, right? And then we have the wisdom that's of the ancient ones. So here we are, like with this super technology, with the wisdom of the ancient ones sitting there, and we're sitting in this body that hasn't evolved in God knows how
Mhm.
long. We're still in the same body that our ancestors sat in, you
Right.
know. So how do we navigate those waters, you know? It kind of it's kind of an oxymoron, or you know, it kind of cancels each one out, because ancient ones are saying work with the river, work with the land, you know, be
Right.
quiet, pay attention to nature, you know,
Right.
in the rhythms of life. And what is technology saying? Just be here technologically right here. You have to work like a robot. You're yeah,
This.
yeah,
This.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you are a robot. You
Yeah.
are, but work like that, you know. So
Well, look at if you want to look at the last, let's say, 500 years, as we've moved, as society has moved away from that connection to nature, and then moved more into this stale technological, we have this, we're living in a civilization that believes in conquering nature, conquering the natural environment, and defiling the natural environment. Let's just keep it real. Like the thought of throwing a piece of garbage out the car window that will never biodegrade and never reintegrate into the natural environment isn't a second thought for
mm, mm,
lots of people in civilization right now. And that's all across the world. People who have been detached from the land and detached from these natural rhythms, natural cycles. People who don't really get to experience nature in the way that it's meant to be,
mhm,
pristine,
mhm,
untouched animals moving around, like where you're
mhm.
still part of the food chain. We're part of the food chain, but don't realize we're part of the food chain. And that's a
Right.
dangerous place to be. I was, there was a video, I was watching this video, and there was the people were standing by the shore of the water, and then they jumped back, and it looked like it looked like, I don't know what you call it, like a swordfish or like a shark with a sword on its face or something like that. It just
Mhm,
comes out and tries to snatch what was on the shore.
mhm.
And someone said in the comments or in the caption, "This is why I don't." This is why I don't go into the ocean, because you become a part of the food chain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
It's a humble reminder that we're
Mhm.
still part of nature.
Mhm.
Even though we've got this thing right here and we're doing all that, we're still a part of nature. And the further we get away from the technology of nature,
Mm. Mm.
more imbalanced we become. And to
Yeah.
me, it's systematic. This imbalance is systematic. It's not an accident. I don't think it's an accident.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it's an
Right.
accident.
That's pretty wild. That's pretty wild because we have all this technology around us and they're trying to tell us, oh, that keeps us closer. But if you look a little deeper into it, you see that no, it doesn't. It separates us, if anything. I mean, we're at the point where, we're texting. Everybody's texting. I've texted with somebody for 20 minutes. I'm like, "Yo, you could have called me." You
Right.
know,
We
it's
have a whole
crazy.
conversation.
Yeah. But it goes even deeper because people have full blown relationships online. In some other countries, like they're really with it like full time. They have full relationships with someone online, like a woman and everything. Yeah, they don't see them or nothing, bro, and they're happy with that. It's wild, bro.
That's wild. And just
Yeah,
think that that's where society is headed. And now at this point, I just look at myself as a throwback. Like, all right,
yeah,
like I'm not really with that. So, and I'm not gonna so-called conform to that. It's not I'm gonna not gonna conform to that. It's just not for me.
right,
So
right,
I'm
right.
cool being how I am. I'm grown enough in this life, in this flesh, that
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, Cam, and the listeners, I'm sure that they could relate to this. That it takes work, bro. It takes work,
you know,
right? That's why, like my old man used to say, that he loved his wife. He said, but it's a decision that he makes every day. It wasn't just like, oh, just automatic. No, he got up and decided to love his wife that day. It takes work to. What is it that you do? Okay, flowers and candy. Come on, man. This is for the movies and all that, bro.
right?
That's from
Because
the movies. That's in Hollywood and in high school. We're not doing that, bro. This is like dealing with someone, especially if you live with someone, especially, right? But when you're dealing with someone part time, let me tell you, it's like apples and Pluto. It's like you're dating them, seeing them on the weekend, and like bro. It's something else when you live with somebody. It's quite deep. But you're bringing all they're bringing all the baggage and you bring in all your baggage too, and they got to deal with that. Like sometimes I'm like, man, I can't take this is rough. But then I think for a moment, like, hey, they got to take my garbage too now.
I
I think I'm without, but that's not the case.
and that's the like, maybe the humbling thing too. It's like, okay, I got my stuff too, and this person is dealing with my stuff. You know? Maybe they
Hmm.
speak on it that one time every couple months when they get
Hmm.
upset, but like they get
Hmm.
on my crap. Oh,
Right. Right, right. And then you try to work things out with someone, in any type of relationship, right? I mean, look, my hat comes off to people who have like the same sex, like
mhm,
man with man and woman with woman. So hear me out on this, bro.
mhm,
This is what I'm saying. Like that takes tremendous courage, first of all, to be doing those type of activities publicly and all of that, like for you to come out and that man, my hat comes off to you, bro.
right,
And then the fact that you have to deal with your emotions too in a relationship, and you're living in a society that might frown upon it in different circles. Like,
right.
wow, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. So
It
here I am. I'm a heterosexual man, right? I have my wife, which is a female, and we are monogamous. I think that's the word, right? It's just me and
mhm,
her,
mhm,
right?
right.
We're in a sacred union, right? And man, that takes a lot, bro. Takes a lot.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I don't think I'm. This is going to be a constant theme with me. Is about in this show is the institutions that hold civilization together, and marriage is one of the core institutions that holds civilization and society together. This is my opinion,
Mhm.
because there's a level of responsibility and accountability,
Mhm.
because you're bringing two tribes together in most cases, and in front of both of these tribes we're saying, okay, we are promising each other, we're engaging in a contract to figure this thing out, look out for each other's best interests,
Mhm.
and become one, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
And like you said, that's a lot. And there's a lot of young folks I'm hearing now say, oh, they don't want to get married. I'm not going to get married. It's cool if that's not for you. Um,
Mhm.
but what is the purpose of marriage? And I think there's something said, and this is my opinion. Again, I'm old school. I'm a throwback. So it's
Mhm.
my opinion that there's something to be said about, again, the institutions that hold the society and civilization together.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know, but the way we're headed, I don't think that this society, I don't think this society is going to be held together much longer.
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
it like,
Well, you know, they say that this is one of the main reasons why Rome fell, and lots of those other European is because, you know, they didn't think nothing of being with a 12-year-old boy and those type of things. Like, you know, I'm just saying
right,
they didn't. That was just their society.
right,
You know, every society is different. You know,
right,
but sometimes that destabilizes the society. It does. Like, where's the sticky glue? Where's the one that keeps things, you know,
right.
together in a way? It has to be pliable, but at the same time, it has to stay.
Right.
Because it's
And what's the place of women in that, in the society like that? In Rome,
mm,
women were for breeding, and that
mm,
was
mm.
pretty much it. They enjoyed more
Oof.
the company of men, and like you said,
Yes,
as young boys,
yes,
and that was their jam.
yes.
The Roman legions were, one reason they were so powerful is because you had these big badass soldiers on the front lines with their lover, and so that
Mm,
made
right.
them fight that much harder.
Mm,
Yeah, because they weren't
okay.
going to let their man get hacked up.
Right.
That
Right. Right.
that was a strategy. But like
Yeah.
you said, so but what does that do for, again, the society? If this dude's on the front line with his man, who's he coming back home to? He's not coming back home to his woman. He's not
Right.
coming back from a glorious battle to now create a whole bunch of babies,
Right. Right.
which might be, I don't know, but which might
Right.
be why they had to employ so many foreign
Mm.
mercenaries who had no real loyalty but this
Right.
coin to
For
the
the
empire.
salt. Mhm,
Right,
right. For the sal, the sal, the
right,
sal.
salad,
Yeah,
right,
the sal.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and then it makes me think of about the women too, right? So here are all these women that are sitting around just for breeding and stuff like that, and they probably just started to look at each other and say, "Hey, look, you know, we just sitting around. Let's do something." And you understand me, you feel
Right,
me. So
right.
that's why sometimes I think about, you know, how women would do that, and at first glance you would think like, why would you do that? Like, men, they are but the woman understands the woman, you
Right.
see, and they are both on the same frequency. So when she's looking, she's looking for more than that. That's why I believe our society, we look at women as objects, you know, to use, and then men, you know, the women look at men more as like power structure, right? That's the
Mm,
society that we live in, you
right,
know, because we live in a patriarchic society. The
right.
men are the one who really, you know, women got power too. That's true, but really, it's really the men. You see, so women would be like, oh well, wait a minute, you know, I could just be with a woman. Like, she understands me, and she touches me in that way, you know. So I'm with it. You see, so it's quite complex.
It is. It is. It's deep. And, these conversations, it's cool. I'm glad we can sit here and chop it up about this, and you can kind of throw around some ideas about, all these things, because so many conversations are taboo and this and
Mhm.
that. But it's like, look, nothing else. We're looking for understanding. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And we look at civilization through a particular lens. We look at society through a particular lens. So this is the lens.
Right, right. Yeah. I could see how, some people would turn to some of those things. I could see how they would. Now I'm not saying, hey, that's the way to go and all that, because I think now society and the year of the Gregorian calendar of 2025, they're way out, bro. They're way out. They're way out. They've confused everybody so much that, that's why we have our kids in a private school, is because the public school was talking about that during the first grade they were going to start teaching kids to question their own sexuality. It's just crazy, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, just the way out, bro. The way out.
and I think there's more important things for children to learn. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what's up
exactly.
with math? What's up with spelling? What's up
Yeah,
with,
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
like civics? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like,
exactly.
and when I
Yeah.
say civics, like, what's you, what, where are you right now? You know what I'm saying? Okay,
Yeah.
this is for the children. Like, where are the children right now? They live in the United States. What
Mhm.
are the rules of this country in which we
Yeah.
live? What
Yeah.
I hear so many people talking about this guy or that guy, or this woman or that woman is gonna wants to take our rights. Like, do you know what rights that these people are allegedly taking? Probably,
Mm. Mm.
probably not. And then there are people who have stood on the side of they were cool with seeing other people's rights taken because they didn't agree with what they said, which lets me
Mm.
know that they don't really know what the rules are in this place, and that's what classes like civics are for. And
Yeah.
again, that's just for if you want to understand where we're at, how to keep this thing alive. If people just want it to burn, that's cool with me. Like, it's whatever at this point,
Right.
I,
Right.
I do
Yeah.
my best to be positive and everything, but
Right.
it's like I'm just watching it burn slowly. It's like
Right. Yeah.
watching a house fire start from an outlet and just watch
Yeah.
it burn through
Right. Just watch it. Yeah.
zigzag. And it's like, hey guys,
Yeah.
we should put that out. And they're over here
Yeah.
talking about some other thing. Like, all right, cool.
Right. Some people might say that it's the agenda, right? And I could see how they probably have some of these young people walking around twisted up. They don't even know, bro. They're like walking around like, who am I? What am I? And maybe I am that. Let me go for that. Like, go for that. Maybe, come on. They got you with all the videos and the TV and the advertisements and you see some of these advertisements, oh man, they way out, bro. I'm like, I looked at it, I didn't know if it was a guy or a girl, bro. I just didn't know, bro. I was like, why? Why the confusion? Like, it's
Right.
just it's confusing. That's all I'm saying.
And that's the thing, because a lot of it is portrayed as confusing. People who aren't sure, or one day it's one thing, the next day it's another thing.
Mm,
And that's becoming the norm. And I don't even think that's really becoming the norm, but it's being presented as the norm. It's like, okay, it's
mm.
okay if someone is so-called confused or exploring or
Right,
this and that,
right.
but it's like, don't act like that is everybody's norm. Everybody doesn't experience that. I think people should be respected. People shouldn't be hurt,
Right.
or whether it's a lifestyle or anything like
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
believe in disrespecting people, but I also believe in, and I also believe in people, everybody being respected. You know what I mean? Like, go ahead,
Yes,
go
yes.
ahead.
I was gonna say about, we have the men's retreats that we do, right? It's called the
Mhm.
Wind Horse Rising Men's Experience. And before we were doing Zoom calls before, and the men would meet and we would all talk, and I was advertising it on the socials. And one brother replied to me saying, "Hey, do you have to be heterosexual to be in the men's group?" And I replied, "I didn't say anything about sex. This is
Right,
I
right,
don't I don't give a bro. I don't care.
right,
Like, what you want to be in the group, you want to be in the group, man. Come
right.
on, bro. That ain't got nothing
And
to do with you do in your private life. That's you."
and thank you. And and that's an important thing. Excuse me. That's I'm glad you said that, right?
Mm,
Because
he was
it's
glad too.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's my opinion. Like, it's not about that's the like the farthest thing
Yeah.
should be the farthest thing from people's minds. I think. You know what I mean? Like how two two grown folks get down in the bedroom. In
Yeah.
my opinion, is their business.
Yes.
It's not something that should be on Front Street. It's not something
Yeah.
that definitely shouldn't be broadcast to children.
No.
I don't
No.
care if it's heterosexual or homosexual.
Exactly. Right. That's
Like
right. You're right.
that's not for children. That's for grown folks. And then in certain settings like that, it shouldn't matter at all. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they should put some more shade on that. But Cam, you spoke about a very interesting point also, right? You mentioned about women and the powers, dealing with emotions and those type of things. And I did want to mention that in my opinion, I feel that in some point in human evolution, women were the ones that were running things mostly on the planet. I'm telling you,
Yep.
that's one of the reasons why society does that to women. And they put them as objects that show their flesh as something that you use and all that. Because they were the ones who made the decisions. If you think about the Amazonians, the Amazon women, you know,
Mhm.
yeah, they really existed. They were straight warriors. They used men as tools, bro.
Right.
They bring them home and said, "Yeah, just wait for me right here. I'll be back." And they went to battle, bro. Killed
Right.
other humans and everything. There's stories of women that they would be on horseback and their breasts would be in the way. They would have it amputated their breast
Mhm.
because to throw the bow, the breast was in the
Right.
way. They
Right.
were straight killers, bro. They were warriors, bro.
Yep.
They didn't want to come home to no man that was talking all that garbage. You get the
Right.
smack down, bro. You
Right. Exactly. you know, and brother, so have you heard about the Sibyls?
Mm,
Sibyls, the ancient
tell me
oracles,
more.
Sibyls, ancient oracles, the
Mm,
daughters of Mami Wata. You had these African women. Basically, every king would go to them. Every emperor, even into the Roman times, the emperors would go to these oracles. These oracles were these temples with these sacred women, and there were men in there too. But this
mm,
was an institution that was largely run by women. These women, they were so-called psychic. They had so-called magical abilities and all this stuff. This is real stuff. And you know, the Roman emperors would go to them and they would consult with them. Like you weren't even if you were a Roman emperor, you were going to the oracles to make sure that you were going to have a good reign. You're going to go
mhm,
to them, ask them, let them tell me what I need to do, how I need to move. They're going to tell you how you need to move so that you can have a prosperous reign. And the Sibyls were really they were the first if you want to say the so-called first religion. I don't want to call it a religion, but it's just like you said, they were running the show. Before that, they were running the show. When the patriarch came in, they worked for thousands of years to suppress that. But according
mm,
to the book, Mommy Watch, where I put, bro? But according to research, it's the women, Sybil, the ancient women who built the megaliths across the world.
mm, mm,
It
mm,
wasn't the men. And even if they had, let's say it was men doing the constructions, maybe, but
mm,
it was commissioned and directed by Sybil's women because they
mm.
were in touch with the earth, they were in touch with the energy centers here for
Yeah, they were that makes perfect sense because especially in ancient Greece, they were believed to possess the ability to foresee the future and communicate with the gods. So when you think about women, you just need to be paying attention and you will see that women are more spiritual than men. They're more, yeah, men might be more religious because that is more left brain thinking, but the right brain thinking is about the arts. It's about
Mhm,
beauty and it's about love. It's about the heart. It's about feeling. And women are more in touch with that.
mhm.
Men, we just don't have that. We have to learn how to be more like that. We're more logical thinking. So, when you think about the spiritual sense, women were always like the high priestess. They were the ones that were speaking to God.
Of
It was
course.
only that when they started turning into a more patriotic times, a patriarch society, is that they started choosing the men and how they looked. It had nothing to do with him being spiritual. They were picking the guy who was 6 feet tall. You know what I'm saying? And spoke with a baritone voice and stuff. You know, he was in the temple talk. Yeah, he was like, oh,
Right.
yeah, he's the leader. Put him the leader.
Listen
You
to
know what
his
I'm saying?
voice echoing off the halls, right?
Exactly. Yep, yep. It's just how he looked, you know. But it was the women. They were the ones with the seashells and the bones and the
Right.
roots and the herbs. They knew how to heal you. They knew how to take care of you. Men, we didn't know about nothing like that.
Look, and even today, look at women today. Like it never ended. It just changed forms because look at women
Hmm.
today, right? Say you about to go somewhere and your lady's like, nah, I don't think you should go.
Right,
Listen to her, right?
right,
Fellas,
right.
fellas, go
Yeah,
listen to your lady, right?
yeah,
Because something in her just got activated to let her know, like, you know what?
yeah.
Time, maybe it's not the place to go. Or maybe she's gonna say that, and then an hour later be like, you know what? All right, come on, let's go. I think we're good now.
Hmm.
Because maybe
Hmm.
there was a threat. Maybe your car would have stalled on the train tracks, and you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Or maybe
yeah,
there's being maybe when you leave now, you go out. Oh damn! Look at this bad car accident. Good thing we didn't leave
yeah,
an hour earlier.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think we might have been there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah.
and so it's that intuition, and it's a knowing, and you
Mm-hmm.
know when your lady knows, know when
Hmm.
she knows, and she's not just talking some stuff. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I do tend to listen to the wife when she's, sometimes, of course, we get into our macho. It's the ego, like, oh, I'm the leader here. Now, come on, we going in, but they're more in tune. They're more in tune with that, with their gut. It's the good gut health. They're more in tune with the symbiotic relationship with our gut. They feel it. That's why they tell you right away, oh, you're seeing somebody on the side. No, come on, girl. What you talking about?
Talking about girl.
Oh, man, girl, I love you.
Mhm.
Nah,
Look,
I feel it. I feel it. Something's
right.
going on. Yeah, and I'm telling you, my wife was like in the early days, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, bro.
Mm.
Yeah, and I was like, man, and then in my head, I was saying, how did she know
She
that?
know.
Bro?
Right.
She's
Right.
not giving me no proof. She ain't giving me no nothing. Like I found a number, I saw a video, or my girl Sandra Sheila told me about the no, nothing like
Nope.
that, bro. She just
Nope.
knew it.
Nope. My lady be like, they told me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's
Right?
deep. It is deep. It is deep. It is deep.
It's
But
deep.
it's those things that we're speaking about, about things of the heart, man.
Mm.
How is it that we can be more compassionate, more and with more empathy, more forgiveness, because forgiveness is a funny one there too, because we feel it right in the heart. We feel it right there, right? The heart, it just burning inside your chest. Like, nah, man, no, no. What he did to me? No, I ain't talking to that. What? You don't
Right.
let it go? It's been a year. It's been 3 years now.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy because, Cam, I like to describe it like that. I could tell you how sweet an apple is, but if you don't let go of that rock in your hand, you'll never know. I could tell you about it, but you'll never know until you release that stone that you've been holding on, that this blood trickling down to your wrist and forearm.
Mhm.
Let it go. Where I could put that sweet apple, man. You take a bite of it, you know it when you bite it. You be like, yes, why didn't I let go of that before?
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's the
Yes.
heart, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, let's let it go. Let's let it
And
go.
the forgiveness, a lot of the times we're we're unable to forgive other people because we haven't forgiven ourselves.
Mm. Go
Yeah.
ahead, brother. Go ahead.
And that's a big one because, you know, I was thinking about this too as we were coming to the show, like the whole idea of self-love. I think a lot of people are running around out there and really love themselves. And if they don't love, and they may not know it. So if people don't love themselves, how can they love someone else? If
Mhm,
people can't forgive themselves, how can they forgive someone else? They don't
mhm,
have compassion for self. How can they have compassion for others?
mhm,
I don't think it's possible because
mhm,
greatest love
mhm,
might be, or the first love might be self love. Maybe the most important love might, because if you have self love, and this is my opinion, but if you have self love, then you have the capacity to show up in loving ways for others, whether it, you know, family members, romantic relationships, friends, anybody. Gotta love most.
Yep, yep, yep. I think of Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote a great book called The Mastery of Love,
Mm,
and I highly recommend that one. When you read it, you see some things like you come to that realization, like, wow, I don't really love that person that I think I do, and they don't really love me either.
ooh,
They don't, not really. Yeah,
ooh.
yeah, yeah. And
That's,
then you go, then it gets deeper. You go, I don't even love myself. It's crazy because you see all these people, they're looking out there like, man, I just can't find that someone and all that, right? I'm trying to be the best, this and all that. I'm dating and all of that. But, he helps to break down the relationship that you have with yourself,
mm,
forgiving of yourself and taking care of yourself, the self love. That's when love is attracted to you. Because if you work on your
mm,
body, or if you're like one of these super high intellects, or you've got all the cash flowing that you're burning it up in the furnace, and yeah,
mhm,
you're gonna attract some people, yeah, but you have to think like, hold on, why are they with me? You know, you see,
right.
how long is this gonna go on for? Because the flesh, right? I mean, you could be all buffed and bubbled up and all that. That breaks down at some point, bro.
Yup.
All the money runs out at some point. You
Mm,
see what I'm saying? Or everything, all of that. The intellect too. The intellect
right,
too.
right,
Nobody want to hear your BS. For 40 years.
right, right. That stuff might be
That
cool.
it was sexy in the beginning when we was
Right,
at the bar having drinks.
right. But then what does that look like? Like you say, you 40 years old. Like, oh, you
Yeah,
still with that
you
same
still
old
feeling
talk.
it? Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, nah.
It changes, it
Yeah,
changes. And
right.
so what is that individual standing on? Hey,
Mhm,
oh,
mhm.
and again, to me, it goes back to what you were saying earlier, even your relationship with your wife, like you're doing real work. Like every day you have to do real work on
Mhm,
self to become
mhm,
a version of yourself,
mhm,
because all that other stuff goes out the window.
mhm.
Eventually all those illusions get fade to dust.
Right.
Nope. This is what I tell people, right?
Mhm,
And this is, my viewpoint. And I feel like,
mhm.
for one thing, people shouldn't be having sex with each other if they can't smell each other's shit.
Mm, I know that's right. Listen, we could get deep on that one, bro.
You know what I'm saying? You can't smell someone's dookie in the bathroom.
Yeah,
Should
right,
you be sharing intercourse with this person, right?
right,
But
right.
what about every time two people make love, they should do it knowing that child can come, you know?
Mm,
Like understanding that, because now like sex is so frivolous, and that goes back to kind of what we were talking about before. It's so frivolous that, oh,
mm,
and watch, like, have this conversation with people, what
mhm,
happens if you get so and so pregnant? Oh, we just get an abortion. Okay, hypothetically, what
mm.
if that woman cannot get an abortion? Or whatever,
Right,
oh, she
right,
she's got a health condition and she's got to go through.
mm,
Are you ready to
mm,
be a father? I had
mm,
some elders tell me, they told me that every time two people make love, it's, even if they're not creating a baby, even if they're using protection, they're creating something. They're creating, almost as if they're still creating a being.
mm.
And
Right, right,
that like kind of shifted how I thought about sex in general.
right,
You know,
right.
and then for men especially, like after you get yours, after you ejaculate, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? How do
mm,
you feel
mm.
about that person you're laying there?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Is she still bad, or are you like, ooh, I got to get out of here? Then,
yeah,
brother, you
yeah.
don't need to be there in the first place.
Right. Right. Yeah. It does create some sort of energetic exchange that's happening on a deeper level that people don't realize, especially men. And again, it's back to the society. If you look at many advertisements, lots of women are there showing themselves in some way like that. It's not the men. No, you don't that don't sell cars.
Right,
Right? Right? Car is the thing that men want, but there's always a woman explain,
right,
showing the car and thing And it goes on like that. Or the magazines, if you look at lots of them, there's women on the magazines, unless it's
Right.
a men's kind of fitness type thing, and they still put women on those too,
They still
right?
put
Because he's there with 3 women behind him,
right with some beautiful
right?
looking women, right?
Right. Yeah. Is that they're
Right.
just playing play pieces, you know. But when it comes to the deepness of it and the seriousness of life, like, wow, this is something to think about. You know, women are in touch with things that we just don't know, you know. That's why
Thank you. Right. Go ahead, brother. I'm gonna touch on that. Go ahead.
that's why they believe that women should be really the rulers of the world, you know, because at least they'll just kind of like argue and they'll go back. But men, like, we're just, yeah, hardcore. But go ahead, brother.
Right. And the other thing with women, let's not sleep on women because you know, this is my opinion because just observing women through history and how and just women in my life, right? Like if women really want to go to war, like you may not even hear about it. It may, oh, Queen so and so just died and we don't know what happened. Like,
Right, right, right.
and then this queen will be sitting here like, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know what to tell you. She just
Um,
fell down.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, not men, right? We got to come in riding the horse,
Right.
blowing a horn, you
All
know,
that.
plot
All,
it, tell everybody we're going in, and
right. All
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's how
Yeah.
men are. Yeah, we're egotistical.
Yeah.
We're ego driven.
Right. And where, men are expansive and outwards, women are contracted
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
The Haitian Revolution. A lot of people may not realize the Haitian Revolution, Haiti, the
Mm-hmm.
Haitian Revolution, it was a family. It wasn't just a bunch of men going out on the battlefield and
Mm-hmm.
women and children.
Mm-hmm.
First ones on the battlefield were children. Children were going in there and disabling guns, cannons, this other stuff, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the women would go out and the women would be scaling walls and they'd be creeping through the grass because
Mm-hmm.
shape of their bodies, they were better suited for certain jobs. Women
Mm-hmm.
also had an intricate spine network. I can't remember the name now. I have my it's not close at hand, but like she had a whole spine network. You know what I'm saying? She changed disguise. She was a master of disguise. One minute she's a 20-year-old mulatto woman. Next minute she's a 70-year-old man with a king. You know what I'm saying? They were so intel. They were going into the Frenchman's quarters and oh, I'm just a cook. You know what I'm saying? But they listened to the whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
They over there bringing the champagne and listening to
Right.
the
Yeah.
plan as the
Right.
generals. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Going and bringing back the General Toussaint and General Dessalines so that they
Mm.
know how to move. You know what I mean? It's like
Interesting.
right. But what you were saying about women, like you said
Mm.
that women have things that we don't know about, and it's so important because
Yeah. Mm.
women have their cycle. When a young girl starts to become a woman, starts to move into her woman, and she gets traditionally she gets brought into the community or the society of woman, right?
Mm.
Now she's gonna have, if everything is moving accordingly, she's gonna have a group of older women explaining to her what's going on.
Mm.
Your cycle. This is how often it's gonna happen, and the ins and outs of what that means. There's certain things they can't probably tell her till she experiences. Oh, you feel that in your belly? Yeah, that's a cramp.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
grandma gets cramps, your auntie gets bad cramps, you might have bad cramps too.
Right.
I don't get bad cramps because I eat this diet. You know what I mean? So it's a whole secret world that men don't even know about because we're just not really privy to that information.
Right.
I have
Right.
2 sisters, a mother, you know what I mean? Like I might know when they're going through their thing, or maybe my little sister just, a little bit snappier, little
Right.
snappy, little snappy.
Right.
Why you acting like that? What's wrong with you?
Right. 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 Right.
I'm not privy to what's going on. I don't know that that's where she is in her moon right now. So, and
Yeah.
I think that goes to so many different levels.
Mm.
You're saying, like,
Mm.
yeah, like they have a whole secret world that we don't
They
know.
do. They do. They do. They have this inner strength that women have that men don't have. We tend to like display it on the outside, but it's false. It's a false positive. right? Because you spoke about earlier about the strength of women and some of the things they've done. There's been other times in history too, like the French Revolution as well. It was the women that went out and started, they went to the castle of Versailles.
Mm,
Yeah, they're
right,
the ones who went to the gate. They went, and that has happened very often, in world wars, revolutions, and things turn over society. It was the women that went. And if you think about Mary Magdalene, right?
right.
She went, she was there at the cross. None of the men was there. No,
Mhm.
none of the men were there. None of them. And
Wow.
then when they went to go get Yeshua's body from the cave,
Right.
right? It was her, Mary Magdalene, that went over there to anoint his body with oil.
I
Why?
think
Because the men were somewhere hiding somewhere in the bushes, bro.
it was the 3 women who went there,
It was
right? Something
the
like
three
that.
women. They were women. Yeah, I know Mary Magdalene was one of them.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, but it was the three women. I think it was his mom too, or something like
Right.
that.
It was
Or
Mary Magdalene, his mother, and I think somebody else.
yeah, it was the women that first went, and then Joshua, that was his original name, not Jesus, but
Mhm.
Joshua.
Right, right.
um, he revealed himself. How the story goes, he revealed himself to her, and when he went, she went back to the men and said, "The master has come to me and told me this and that." They said, "No, he didn't. No, he
Right.
didn't. No,
Ah,
no. What? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? You're a
right,
woman."
right,
He wouldn't come to you. No. And then that's when the guy showed up in the room. He goes, "Yo, I'm here now." And they were like, "Oh, oh, 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 we're anointed and all that, the flame on the
right,
head,
right,
or how the story goes." And I was like, "Yeah, I
right,
was trying to tell you. She was
mhm,
telling you." Right.
right, right.
So it's the women there. They're the ones with the strength, really, and the power, bro.
It is. What did James Ward Brown say? It's a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl.
That's right.
And you
Mhm.
know, it's fun. As a man, I understand that song, and I don't know if a woman is gonna understand that song from the perspective of a man, right? Because they can't. But it's
Yep.
like if it wasn't for women, we'd be sitting out here. We would probably be fat slobs, and
Yep.
you know what I mean. Like
Wouldn't do nothing, wouldn't make nothing. Yep.
I don't care how
Mhm.
my hair looks. I don't care how
No.
nothing looks. I'm just
Nope.
out here, like
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just one of those things that they're tapped into that inner peace right here in the heart. When men we're missing that, right? That's where all the wars come in, for profit and
Mm,
things of that nature.
mm.
You see,
Right,
you see,
right.
you
We
see.
we are right because right now we are living in an imbalanced world. Do you
Mhm.
remember this movie that came out back in the day? It's a series. It's like 2 parts. It's called Koyaanisqatsi.
No,
Might
I
not
don't.
I might not be pronouncing it right.
What was, mhm.
Koya
Okay.
Koyaanisqatsi. Yeah, Koyaanisqatsi. It's a 1982 film. But it basically means world out of order.
Mm.
Um, hold on. Let's see what it means. The Native American world, life out of balance.
Mm.
And the movie Koyaanisqatsi it's showing the modern world and just how destructive. And that's where we are right now, life out of balance. And I'm going to look into it because I wonder if it also has to do with the particular time period that we're living in, the era and age that we're living in. You know,
Mm.
uh,
Mm. Mm.
but the ancients,
Mm.
they they would clock stars in the heavens, and I know certain religious folks like, oh, you shouldn't do that, but
Mm.
that's like, should we have a calendar?
Right.
Because to me, that's the same thing. That's just a calendar that humans didn't create. It's a
Mm.
calendar you look up and you say, okay, this is the age that.
Right.
What are the ages? A lot of people don't even realize the ages. They talk about the age of Aquarius, like what's the age?
Yeah.
Aquarius is when Aquarius, the actual constellation, is coming up on the horizon,
Right.
and the the when we can see the sky because we can't see the
Yeah.
sky anymore
Mm.
in the cities
Yeah.
like we're
The
at.
Aquarius. I know that the Aquarius is now right.
Yeah,
That's one of the biblical scriptures that says, "Follow the one with the water."
the water,
They were referring to that, to
the
the
water,
age of Aquarius. Like, yeah,
right? And
I
right,
know I'm
and
misquoting it, but yeah, something like that.
something like that, right? And
Mhm.
we're moving out of the age of Pisces and
Mhm.
Pisces. So if you see like the Jesus fish, that's the Pisces because that was firmly in the Piscean era. Piscean era brings certain characteristics. I don't know all the characters. I could look that, but all
Mhm.
that to say is like the we are following a natural calendar, and so I wonder if Koyaanisqatsi has to do with that natural calendar too.
Mhm.
I always like to kind of go back to the Kemetic civilization
Mhm.
where they wrote so many things in stone because they knew we were moving into an age of darkness. They knew
Mhm.
that this information would be lost, so they built these monuments a certain way. They encoded the information not only
Mhm.
in what they wrote, but they encoded it in the actual architecture. Okay, we're going to build it according to these dimensions using this measurement system because
Yeah,
anybody who looks at it is going to understand this measurement system. And
exactly.
we're like
Yeah.
aliens built it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Right?
all the technology, all the techno is right there. Wow, man! They're like, nah, that was metaphorical. All of them in all the temples, they all did. Come on, that's it. Looks just like the things we're using right now.
Right.
But I'm glad that you brought up ancient Kemet too, because I wanted to point out that I had learned as well that when someone passed on, they would do like the embalming, right? They would preserve the body because they believe in the resurrection, right? That was
Right.
coming back, which you see, people listening, they're like, hey, wait a minute, that
Right.
kind of sounds like, but yeah, that's because they got it from there.
Right.
So
A physical
just
resurrection.
pay attention, exactly.
Go
So
ahead, brother.
I had learned that they would preserve the body, the brain, they would break it up with a tool like mush and get it out from the nose, but they would preserve the heart because it was important, not the brain. No, you don't need this. This is garbage. Get rid of that. That was just something you used. That was just the software. You could
Right.
just delete that part. But the hardware, the heart. That I found that fascinating, and they would keep it like in the canopic jars
Yeah.
and preserve it in that way because it was so important.
Right.
Our heart is the one that's letting off the electric the bioelectric,
Yep.
pulsation. That's the one that's helping us to get our auric field going around us. If anybody knows about the auric field, I was taught that if you want to feel it, you could just place your hands a little bit apart and then start pulling it very slightly apart and
Mm,
together very slightly and slowly. My wife taught me that years and years ago, bro. Like,
mm.
and I didn't believe it. And when I did it, bro, it freaked me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like you can't unsee it, you can't unexperience that.
Yeah.
Now it's part of your reality.
Yeah.
And
Again, a woman. Yeah. Go
right,
ahead.
of course.
She showed me. Yeah.
Right. Have you seen the video where a guy he shows a heart when it's unrolled,
Oh yes, yes, I did. I
right?
did. I
And he
did. Yeah.
shows how it's like a cone, it's like a vortex. It's speaking of what you're saying. So
Right.
when the blood is moving through the heart, is we just think of it statically, like bouncing around through valves, getting sucked into this valve and moved around to this chamber and
Mhm,
this chamber. No,
mhm,
it's more
mhm,
like a vortex. It's circling around. And
mhm,
so speaking of what you're saying, like again, bringing the mystic into the scientific, right? Because we're talking about these auric fields. Well, what happens when you have magnetized, let's say, particles? You had polarized magnets moving through a closed system like this. It's going to create electromagnetic field. It might create a magnetic field. It's going to create a field that generates and projects out further than that device or that closed system. Well,
mhm,
that's what's happening with the blood in the body, right? Because the
mhm,
blood is a liquid medium that's moving through the body, that's being powered through this vortex and it's being supercharged through this vortex and then being sent throughout the body. So
mhm,
imagine now the emotions that someone's emitting, right?
mhm,
This is why it's so important to maintain a certain vibration. doesn't mean be happy all the time, but it means we have to understand ways to stabilize our vibration, because
Mhm.
now that's being circulated through the heart, through blood
Mhm.
that's now moving through the body. But then you also have the nervous system that is also circulating electricity, moving electricity through the nerves, right? Which is another electric system. So, and then you have the plexuses, right? Because I think I said this in another show, maybe
Mhm.
the chakras, there's actual plexes in those areas, right? Here you have the the pineal gland, and you also have the circle of Willis, which is another vortex. It kind of looks like the eye of Heru, but it's like
Mhm.
in the middle of the brain, and so you have blood moving around this area, creating a vortex, right?
Mhm.
And then you
Mhm.
have the throat. So you have the thymus gland and the thyroid gland, and then you have your jugulars, and these are creating plexes, right? And shoulders, they're creating plexes. We have blood moving a certain way, but then you also have the nerve endings and the nerve bunches in these areas that's moving a certain way. Same thing within your heart, right?
Mhm.
Heart doing this thing, but then you also have nerves stacked over here. So this is your heart chakra.
Mhm.
Every chakra area, there's a series of your vascular system and your nervous system stacked on top of each other that are creating energetic vortices, right? So you have your blood doing its vortex, moving around these polarized blood, right? Because your blood is hemoglobin, which is iron,
Mhm.
essentially iron, right? So
Mhm.
iron, we already know iron and magnetism. So that's moving around in this plexus. But then you have your nervous system, which is also electric, which is also you have gatherings in these plexes. So this is bringing the chakra system down to something that's very practical
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
body.
Yes, I totally agree. And, it's wonderful that you're mentioning the chakra system because the whole system itself, they dated back about 4,000 years, bro.
Mm,
And it's always funny how the heart is always connected with how you feel,
mm,
right? People always say, go with your heart, like
right,
follow your heart. You see, that's very
right.
common for people to say that. But what often happens is that we tend to let our emotions overrun us, and there's no balance that you're speaking about, and you talk about, yeah, we shouldn't walk around happy all day, like, yeah, that's you're right, but not walk around, punching everybody in the nose either.
Right.
Like, there has to be some sort of involvement with your heart in those feelings too. And it reminds me of this quote that it's really from a poem by Rudyard Kipling, and you probably heard this piece of it before. It says, if you can meet triumph and disaster and those two imposters just the same, and treat those two imposters just the same.
Mm,
You see, let me read that again. My apologies. If you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same.
mm.
You see? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful one. It's beautiful. And
Mm,
he's basically saying, maybe we shouldn't get so hype up on ourselves. I'm the best and all that and everything. And neither should we say, hey, oh my God, this thing happened to me. I've lost everything. I'm destroyed. Nah, they're both imposters. Both of them, bro. Both of them.
wow.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that speaks to, so one thing, talking about moving the heart, they talk about put your best foot forward, right?
Mm,
Vedic tradition, you put your left foot forward because the left foot is on the same side as the heart. So you're leading
mm,
with your heart. That's
mm.
one thing, right?
That's
So
beautiful. I
right.
know. Yeah, you know that statue? Oh man, I don't know it by name, but it's in the Museum of Cairo, and it shows he's with the two women, and they're moving forward on the left foot.
Yes.
You've seen this one,
Yes.
right? I
Yes.
think it's with the two women or the one woman or something like
It
that.
might be. Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's what, and that always struck me, like when I saw it, like, man, we always go right. Put your right foot. The society always tells you, start with your right foot out. No, it's the left.
Yep. Put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and then you think about we're always right-handed. Yeah, or maybe
Right.
we should be left-handed. Maybe
Right.
really we should be, but they're teaching us this.
Listen, I wonder about that. There's a lot of things, and you know, I'm in the process of reorienting myself. You know, again, I use Kemet as a kind of a baseline because that's what I know a little bit, and I understand that so much came from there. Like so much of what we understand today
Yeah.
comes from there. So I just, for
Mhm.
me, I use it as an orientation point. They were Southern oriented people.
Mhm.
So when we look at maps, we should look upside down
Mm.
because that's
Interesting.
going to change how we think about things, you know, or like as we're in this space that we're in, okay, I'm going up south.
Mm.
See what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
Starts
Okay.
to starts to change, it starts to subtly shift things,
Right.
how
Right.
we might look at the world different, a little bit differently if we start to reorient ourselves because and reorient ourselves with the natural environment,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm,
Something else you said, that Rudyard Kipling
mhm.
poem or parable that you read, that right there reminds me. I did a Vipassana meditation. Have you done that? Have we spoke?
That's the silent, right? The silent. Yeah,
Yeah,
we did speak about it. I told
yeah,
you it was quite intense for me. We
yeah,
did like 3 days, and I came back, and it was
yeah,
an overload of sensory,
yeah,
but it was so helpful too. Oof. So,
yeah. I did a 10-day Vipassana,
mm,
and yeah, brother, and same thing. But one thing that they told us in there, and you may have heard this, that emotions ebb and flow. But we have
mhm,
to remain equanimous. We have to remain right here. No matter
mhm,
whether they're happy emotions or sad emotions, they could be up here, they could be down here. But we have to
mm,
remain right here. And that
mm.
reminds me of the quote that you just spit.
Right, right, right,
Not getting too caught up in the highs and lows.
right. Yep, that's right. That's right. But when you speak about the ancient ones, they were much more in tune with a lot of these things. And you speak of Kemet because it's an ancient society that formed, one of the powerful ones and the high technology. But India has lots of things too, and the chakra system that I speak about, that it's just about recorded about 4,000 years ago, because it's much older than that,
Right.
but just when they're saying that it showed up in some texts, right? But they were very much in touch with some of those things, and they saw the heart as the seat of the soul, and of intellect and emotions as well. So they already knew that this one right here is the one that can get us in trouble or propel us forward also.
Right. Right.
Let
And
me let me I'm sorry to cut you off,
oh,
Cam,
no,
but
no, no. Go
I
ahead,
think this is important right here. I would love to ask you, how do you think that humans or society would be moving if they led with their heart?
that's a great. So do you mean from this point right now?
Yes.
Oh man. Well, so in the Kemetic tradition, right?
Mm,
When someone transitions, they go through judgment. Judgment, ladies and gentlemen, judgment.
mm,
Okay? Their
mm,
own personal judgment. And where their heart is weighed against feather of Ma'at. Ma'at is balance, truth, righteousness, reciprocity, right?
mm,
And so the heart is supposed to be light as a feather. Again, speaking to the heart being the seat of the soul. Heart's supposed to be as light as the feather of God.
mm,
And so let's say today that humans, everybody shifted, right? The shift happened. It's happening now, but let's say we get to the heavier side of the balance now, right? There's gonna have to be some reciprocity, and there's going to be the balance. Balance needs to come back. It's going to look like humans, for one thing, not just loving each other. You know what I mean? Because that's like real generic. But it's like, okay, let's say we're speaking about the US, because that's where we are right now in the United States. There's no people, there's no hungry people. There's orphans. There's we're having a better respect for the environment. We are no longer permitting bad behavior from the people who claim to. I mean, we're dealing with rulers. We don't really have leaders right now. We have rulers, and
Mm.
the difference between a leader and a ruler.
Go
And
ahead, brother. Go ahead.
so, if once when this happens, there's going to be a clear distinction. Like, oh, y'all are rulers, and y'all are horrible rulers too. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because we put up with society, put up things, we put up with behavior from these people that we would never allow from our family members. I guarantee
Mm.
you, most people wouldn't let these rulers into their home to break
Mm.
bread with them if they weren't who they were.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh no, I don't want that person in my house.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's great. It's crazy. They would listen to the guy and do what he said, but yeah, you wouldn't want to have him over for dinner,
right. Like, would you want your child playing with that type of like? No,
right? Right?
right.
Yeah.
So it would look like that, and I think in order, I really think it would be a lot of we'd see a lot of reciprocity, and reciprocity it's not beautiful necessarily. I feel like it can be ugly because certain systems and certain things would have to collapse in order for the right to reveal itself.
Mm, mm. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. All right. All right.
because there's so much, I mean, exploitation, economic exploitation, wars. I mean, just look at I look at things like economics. I'm gonna drop a number, and you know, people can believe it or not. Actually, I'm gonna look this up just to give you an idea of what. It,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
U.S. National Debt Clock. You ever go to the website?
Mm-hmm.
U.S. National Debt Clock. Okay? This is something everybody can look up, and it changes. It changes because I think because more and more people are talking about it. But on the U.S. National Debt Clock, there used to be a section called unfunded liability. I don't see it, but unfunded. That's funny. I guess they don't have it in.
Yeah, they
Um,
they took it out because they knew you was gonna look for it. Probably.
yeah, yeah. Because I've been
Brother Cam. Yeah, they said.
bringing the alarm about this for a long time. When the debt hit $37 trillion,
Mm-mm.
I was actually over there by the debt clock. And true story, there was a news service over the Turkish news service,
Mm-mm.
and they do some Getty images and all that. And
Mm-mm.
I was explaining something to them, and they said, "Can we get you on camera?" So I explained to them. Okay, so the unfunded liability are actually at this point they're about 200 something $1 trillion.
Mm-mm.
Talking about this little $37 trillion, it's actually 200 and something $1 trillion. These
Mm-mm.
unfunded liabilities are Medicare, veterans benefits,
Mm-mm.
pensions, things
Mm-mm.
that are already owed to people who have already put in the work, the sweat equity. They've earned these things and supposed to have this coming to them. It's to the tune of $200 trillion.
Yeah, they're not getting none of that.
Nah, because U.S. federal. Okay, so tax revenue, U.S. federal tax revenue, about $5.14 trillion.
Mm-mm.
U.S. federal spending is
Mm.
$7.16 trillion. So that's already like a $2 trillion deficit. And this is what
Right.
the deficit. So the actual U.S. federal budget deficit is $2 trillion. That's
Mm.
$2 trillion. We don't even know where that $2 trillion went or where it's
Yeah.
coming from. Just
Yeah.
off of the taxes. So there is no hope of paying this $200 trillion that's already owed to people. These people
Mm.
don't have to do another thing in life but
Right.
collect this. Okay. And so this is what I'm
Mm.
talking about, reciprocity. Where's all that money going?
Mm.
So this is what I mean. Like, in order for there to be reciprocity, something like that needs to collapse, and it's going to be extremely painful. But as
Yeah. Well, it might be. I'm sorry to jump in, brother, but it might be painful for some people, but there'll be some other people that will not be affected, and it will not be painful for them. And
Mm,
those people usually live in a small village, in the jungle, in the bush, bro. That's why they know if right now, things were just to collapse and all that, that will be the people who live in these big cities and those type of things. Because
yeah.
people who live in small villages up in the mountains somewhere like that, bro, they living off the land. You don't they're not they're barely on the census radar. They don't even know they're there. They're fine, bro. They'll be just fine. They won't be upset about none of that, bro.
How often do we hear about a tribe that was discovered? They
Mm, mm,
discovered a new tribe. There are
mhm.
people out there living their life who don't even know we exist, who don't know that this world that we live in exists.
Yeah, there might be just some stories, They'd have some stories. Oh yeah, there's no, nah, come on, man. There's nothing out there. It's just us.
Right. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because I think about things like Atlantis, right? The fall of Atlantis, because they talk about how the survivors from Atlantis then came to cultures of people who may not have been acquainted with their technology, started so-called teaching them, right?
right, right.
What would it look like if someone from our world stumbled into one of these societies? One, we wouldn't be teaching them nothing. We might tell them where we came from and what it was like, and they could
Right,
create stories. But
right.
these would be
Mm-hmm,
the next parents of the next civilizations
for
that
sure.
rise up.
For sure, for sure. I mean that happens in societies. There's all sorts of things that come out. We were speaking earlier, and I thought about the story of Adam and Eve.
Ah,
Right, right. There you go. It's another woman thing, and like this, there's many different versions of this story here. People just think like, oh no, this is the one. No, there's many different stories of how it went down, bro.
mhm,
Some have the ones that we know that's common is there's the woman that went and the serpent so called told her eat the apple, and then she told Adam, here, this is nice and juicy, eat it. But
mhm,
some stories have it reversed around. Some have one or two of the characters not even in the story.
mhm.
And some even use it to vilify women too.
Right,
There's religious systems that they go, you see, that's why women need to be seen and not heard.
right,
Keep
right.
it down. Put the thing over your head and keep your head down. Don't express yourself. You can't even drive a car. We don't want none of that. We ain't having that. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
because of that,
yeah.
because of some of those things. But it was the woman. It was the woman that it was happening. And I also wanted to mention that what I had researched as well was what was the original sin.
Mm,
Some people believe, oh well, it was just that they were naked, and that's what I was like. Nah, nah, that's not it. That was a realization, perhaps, that they were saying, hey, and now I realize maybe I should be putting on some underwears or something like that,
right, right, right.
But what was it can't be sex, because sex, that's a natural thing for humans. We're built with the
Right.
tool. I have this, she has one of those, and it fits perfectly. We're built like that.
Right.
But it may have been, and this is just my opinion, it may have been that whoever was running the place at the time, whoever you want to say was running it, just didn't want these beings to be procreating all over the place, and and getting all this energy liquids and creating all of this thing, because they foresee, like, hey, that's not what we want. We want something else over here. So
Mhm.
that's
Well,
my take on that.
well, if you listen or read the Dogon story, they say that the original transgression was, it's funny because there's so many parallels between even the biblical accounts. But the original transgression had to do something with the creation of the earth, or the original elements that created the universe. Somehow the earth was defiled. So now something had to happen in order to correct that defilement. So the original ancestors of humanity, which were more like water, the way that they're described, like their nature is water. Everything about them is associated with water.
Mm,
They they trying to think of how to describe this. But
Mhm.
basically, when they were created, they were given a certain level of intelligence, aided them, and then they were told, okay, now that y'all have been created, y'all are this and that, but you can no longer interact with each other because that's going to be a problem. So,
And there it
two,
was.
right, and then two of them got together, didn't obey the great
Mm,
creator, right?
mm,
Got together
mm,
immediately. That made them unfit for heaven
mm,
because they were hungry. They said, "Let's get together. We're gonna eat." Because I think
mm,
like they all had a certain food and weren't supposed to share it, or they were never supposed to contact each other again or be in the same location at the same time. And they came together. They were hungry and they broke bread, and so they were unfit for what they say. They were unfit for creation or unfit for heaven, and so they had
mm,
to now come down into the earthly realm.
mm.
You understand? So it sounds like the Adam and Eve story.
Yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's why, in my opinion, something was going on. You can't just say, oh, that never happened at all. No, something did happen, and you can't say, oh, well, this is the story right here where you can't say that either
Right?
because you weren't there.
Exactly.
You're just oh, but this book says it. Yeah, but this other book says something similar to it too that was written. It's proof. It's proof. It's not like theory. It's proof that those scriptures, because that's what they are, right? Whether they were found on clay tablets or whatever, they were written thousands of years before that.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm totally with that. So
Right.
I did want to mention about, we're coming back up on the time, and I
Mhm.
want to mention about getting back to this core theme that we're speaking about here on this session, which is about the heart, right? The heart chakra, where we're feeling the importance of it and
Right.
getting in touch with it. So part of the clarity code, and that's what we're doing, is we're demystifying things, but we're also providing tools for people to use them every day and say, hey, this is something that I walked away with. And the first thing that I will say, it is the breath work. Everyone should have a breath work practice, whatever that is. If you don't have one, hit me up. I'll send you something really, really nice, man.
Right.
That way you could break off 10 minutes of your time, especially in the morning. 10 minutes. Who doesn't have 10 minutes? Like, oh, well, I'm rushing to work and I got to get everything and the kids. And well, maybe you should wake up a little bit earlier, right? Just wake up 10 more minutes earlier, and then you'll have 10 minutes to do your breath work. You could get clear from all those things. Taking these power breaths, and then with air retention, with the air out, and then breathe it in deeply and then hold that one also. It oxygenizes the cells in your body. It helps to create all of those chemicals that are going on in your brain for you to think more clearer, activating the reticular activating system. There's so many benefits with breath. And then meditation is another one that I also turn to also.
Right.
People think like, I don't meditate because then my mind is just spinning and I hear all these things, but that's meditation. That's what it is. You're
Mhm.
supposed to be quiet and listen and look at your thoughts. Just observe them. Be the observer. Sit in the seat of awareness, like Michael Singer says in the Untethered Soul. Sit in that seat of awareness. Just be the witness, and then just put a little timer on your phone. 3 minutes, 2 minutes. Try 1 minute, and then work yourself up to 5 minutes. Sitting in a comfortable position, whether it's lotus position, crisscross applesauce, or sitting in a chair, whatever it is, be still, quiet, and get in touch, because that's what we need. We need the connection, the mind body, the mind heart, right? Because mind and heart, the heart is the body, the mind is this thoughts, the ether, all of that turbulence in there. And be still. You'll see how your day will be different. Yeah,
Right.
much better, clear. You be more calm. You go any trauma comes, any drama, trauma, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
you come through, you'll handle it at a much more, leveled point, more balanced, like we spoke about since the beginning of this one here.
Right. And
What's
I
your take on that,
oh
brother?
yeah, I would second that too. If you when it comes to the breath work, the qigong, you could holler at me. It's about getting in touch, just like I said, it's about getting in touch with your internal environment, being able to assess what's going on inside your body and become familiar and comfortable with the uncomfortableness of silence. Yes, your mind is going to race, but just like you said, brother, analyze it, watch it, see what thought. Why are these thoughts coming to the forefront of my mind? Why is this one line keep playing in my mind?
Mhm, mhm,
That's completely okay because eventually you'll learn to alchemize, you'll learn to transform that into something else. But
mm,
till you get comfortable sitting in one position and being observant of the in your internal landscape,
mhm,
you're not gonna be able to do. So you have to take the time, get in touch with yourself.
yeah.
I love to meditate in the morning and when I
Mm,
rise and in the evening before I go to sleep. Those are great
mm,
times to meditate. Just get in 5, 10 minutes.
mm. Yep.
Once you add the breath work to it, then I mean you can end up that 5, 10 minutes can end up being a half hour, an hour because you're getting into the stillness of your mind and your body. And you
Yeah.
really, then it really starts to get funky. Then you start to, oh, what's this? I'm feeling this here and here. How you feeling
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
sensations? Let me go deeper. Let me get quieter in my mind so that I
Mhm.
can be even more aware of what I'm feeling inside of my body.
Yeah, I've done some sessions of meditation. I like the quick ones are always good because it sets my day up and all that. And then before I go to bed, it's always good. I do tapping on my body also,
Mhm,
tapping the
mhm.
muscles, moving the energy.
Yep,
Armpit. Sorry about that. On my armpit right there,
yep,
tap that.
yep.
It helps to prevent cancers and other
Right.
diseases,
And
right? Just
heart
because energy,
attacks. Heart
right? All
attacks
of that, right? So
in the morning when you're doing your qi gong or you're breathing, you're tapping your kidney so that you're waking up
right.
qi
Yep.
and enlivening it.
Mhm. Yep, yep. So I wanted to get back on that meditation part of it, right? Getting in touch with the heart and stuff. So I went to this place called the Endless Mountain Zendo, and they are a Japanese Zen order, and they could be like quite militant, like they
Mm,
need, uh, and I don't know if I had told you that story, but the woman that's there with the man, they're considered not priests, but the ones who are leading the Zendo, right?
okay.
And the abbots, they're abbots, the abbot, okay.
Oh, okay.
And this woman, she was in the order of Japan. She went to this when she decided that she wanted to be in there in the monastery. Like this place, brother, you have to go there, go to the front, prostrate yourself down, and stay at the door and wait until they let you in, and
That's
you
old
just i-
school.
it's old school, bro, like in the movies kind of thing, bro. She's from that one. She stood there like that with her head down, bow, and just stood there for like 2 3 days. They walked right over her and everything. There was like she wasn't even there. They was like, man, get out of here, man, we ain't messing with you. Oh, you still here? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, we'll see if you're here tomorrow. She was
Right.
like that, bro. No eat, no nothing, don't move, bro. And then they let her in, gave her a nice little bowl of rice and all that, cleaned her up and everything, and she was in. And she studied there for years and years and years. And then she's there. She's in the Poconos in the endless mountain Zendo. And the reason why I'm telling this story is because I was getting deeper into meditation and wanted to know more about it and how is it that I can level up. So that's where I went for the Vipassana. Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, Vipassana. Mhm.
Vipassana, right? Is the silent, retreat. So I went there and I had told her that yeah, I feel that I could really benefit from some longer sessions of meditation. So she's like, oh, okay. She took that in. And then when the bell rang, certain times of the day, you go to the hall to meditate. You get, so it's very orderly, bro. You walk a certain way, you sit on your thing, the I
The
forgot the
little
name of the
cushion.
cushion, the UFO or something.
Okay.
And you sit there with your legs crossed. You settle in. You got your robe on and all that because it's this real deal. So you sit
Mhm.
down and you get comfortable as you can, and then you start paying attention to your breath. all the thoughts start coming up. Oh my God, things you couldn't imagine. You're in the third grade again. Oh, it's all kind. Your parents and that guy and the little kid. That all of this started coming up, and then for me, uh, in meditation, you should be watching your mind and being very still and with your eyes closed, right? They often suggest that your eyes be a little bit open. That's why when
Mhm.
you right when you see the Buddha, his eyes are a little bit
Right,
open
he's like
because
this.
right because he's not sleeping because that's totally eyes closed, and he's not wise open because now you're distracted with everything that's
Mhm.
around. So you with that low level eyes right there and just paying attention to your breath. Brother, we sat there for like 50 minutes to an hour. And then here is when your nose starts itching, and the little thing starts
Mhm.
hurting,
Right.
or your knee, your ankle starts hurting, the
Thank
pain
you.
starts coming up. And then you're supposed to sit there and just ignore that. Why? Because those are distractions. Those are everything outside of this vessel.
Yep.
We're training the body to go inward. So you just ignore those things. A little pain, it'll pass. But sometimes it's like it takes a long time for that
Yeah,
little
right,
cramp to go, but just ignore it. Don't move, don't itch, don't scratch your head, no nothing, bro.
right.
My brother, parts of my body were screaming out, bro. We're
Mhm.
screaming of movement, but no, I just stood there, bro. Just stay with the breath, bro.
Yep.
And when she rang that bell, bing, I was like,
Right,
woo!
right. Yeah, brother,
That
and
was my experience.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, bro. The get into the meditation and all the little distractions start oh, now you're aware of that itch on your nose. Now you're aware of that little crick in your back
Yeah,
because you're
yeah, yeah.
becoming more silent. It's part of the process. This is for the audience. It's part of the process.
It's part of the
That's what
process.
happens. But
Mm.
you have to remain equanimous with it, unmoved by it. You know, we
Yeah.
don't have to react to sensation. We
Mhm.
just have to, like, sensation is letting us know that we're alive.
That's it. The body, right? The body has a language of its own, and it talks in pain and those type of things. It's trying to talk to you. Like that's why it's good to pay attention to your gut. I eat sea moss every day. Irish sea moss. Yeah, I make my
Mm,
own and everything. Why? Keeping my gut healthy, man. That's it. Those probiotics, get the papaya in and
mm,
coconut and those. Oh man, I'm on it, bro. Oof. I'm a
yeah,
fruitarian. I get down.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's because I'm doing my best to pay attention to my body, man.
Yeah.
And I think we should all do that, especially when it comes to matters of the heart, bro.
Mm,
Those things are so important for us. Like I got a good friend of mine, a good brother, and he's telling me about his girl. Like, man, we broke up. It's been a while. Oh, we're getting back. Like every time it's like a novella. The soap
mm,
opera
mm,
continues.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hear I hear him out and all that.
right.
And I mostly listen because to tell him something, he's gonna figure it out on his own, bro. He's gonna figure it. I know that. I tried to gear him just a little bit, but I do tell him that the reason why I'm so attentive to listening to his story is because that's a matter of the heart. It's so important because in the end, right, we don't ask like, oh, bring me my money or bring me my cars or bring me my. No, we go, bring me my family,
Right.
bring me my children.
Bring me my Cadillac.
Yeah, right. Yeah, always things of the
Right,
heart. And then on the
right.
flip side, people at the wake,
In a way
right? Which
that
which this
we
this,
look at
this
it
is a
from a
this is
European.
another spell.
And what I'm trying to
What
say
does that sound?
is that the pyramid right here in Giza, the Great
What
Pyramid
does
of
that
Khufu,
sound?
Just
Pause.
this
you, just
pyramid,
you, puppy. You jumped in. Okay, technical difficulties. That was the old episode. It sounded like it was coming in on the background. Did we get clear on that? Okay. Well, while he's fixing that, I just wanted to say that the brother was telling me about things of the heart, and that was so important to him. And that's the most important thing for everybody. It's things of the heart. Let's pay attention to that. We're back, brother. We're good.
Back.
Okay, good. That was good. So yeah. Oh, I was saying on the flip side, at the wake, which
Uh-huh.
let's pay attention to that word, right? Because the spells are there. Okay. But in any case, when people are at the wake, they never say, "Oh man, did you see that guy's bank account? Oh man, his
Right.
cars are sitting right out of the funeral place outside. Let's go
Right.
take a
Right.
look." No, they always go, "He was a nice guy, man. I had a good moment with him and we talked, and I was going through this thing, bro, and you see, matters of the heart." Let's see. So, are we there, brother?
Yeah,
Brother
we're here.
Cameron?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah, we're here. Can you hear me? Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
hear.
I can hear you. Let's close it up with that, man. What do you
Yeah,
say? Yeah?
that's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're
no,
back.
yeah, yeah, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
right
you.
there.
So let's help people out here. We're having a combo session on Sunday. If you know about combo, it comes from the frog. It's a frog in the Amazon, and they make these dots on your skin and they put his excretion on it, and it works on your peptides where you're able to purge. You purge out lots of toxins, and your purge looks like green because that's all the bile that's sitting inside of your body. We need to get rid of that. So you actually getting a new liver. So people who have some liver conditions, they want to
Mm,
detox, stuff like that. That's where combo is excellent. I've done it before, 3 other times, and it was beautiful. It was, you know, it's an experience, but we do want to offer it. Currently, the brother, the practitioner, his name is Wilson, and
mm,
Wilson will be coming through, and Wilson is a combo practitioner, and his energetic exchange that he's asking for is 144,
mm,
sacred 144. But he's saying that at this moment he wants to get people in and try to lower that. That way, money doesn't stop people from experiencing this and getting the health benefits. And he wants to put it at sacred 111. So
mm.
if you could come through with that sacred 111, we'll see you Sunday at 11 a.m. at the Omziel Healing Sanctuary.
Beautiful.
We're also having an ice plunge on Father's Day, June 15th, at a CrossFit gym. They do Muay Thai. They do all of that, bro. They're in it for real. The beautiful place.
That's
They're
dope.
building. They're building a beautiful thing. They have a very strong community there, and it's called Raw Fitness of Lodi. And on June 15th, we're coming through. Kura's coming through too.
Oh,
Oh
Kura with
no,
the
I walk
honey.
with Kura. Oh, for real, Kura's with me. No, I'm with him. We're together. He's coming there too at the Father's Day event there. Right after the ice plunge, he's set up
Mhm.
with his booth, and he's gonna start with the uh, stingless bee honey. Putting them drops in your eyes where it penetrates your brain cell membrane. It helps for cataracts and corrects your vision and all kinds of things. It's great for meditation too. I use it for
Mm.
yeah. Put in the drops and just sit with it, like bro. You feel the sensations and just be
Wow.
still. Super powerful. He has different products, some herbs and stuff like that too.
Right, right.
It's gonna be music and there's gonna be food, and we're looking for other vendors. So if you want to come through, the energetic exchange is 40, but we want to lower that for people. So if you stood to the end of this here, man, I'm gonna say it, but if you came through and you want to come through, man, we're gonna put it at $20. I'm gonna just take and we just gonna don't worry. I'll work it out with the owner. I want you to experience the ice plunge. I know Cameron's like, man, you just giving it away, bro. I know.
you know, you know
It's
me,
so
brother.
good. I just want to help people, man. I just want them to come through and experience what we're talking about,
I
man.
respect it. I
That's
respect it.
it. That's it.
Bro, I just want to, man, people jump on what Brother Omar's talking about. Listen, there's gonna be a day when y'all are gonna hear about Omziel, and he's not gonna be as accessible as he is right now.
Yeah.
The
They're gonna be like, yeah, where's
institution
that
is
$20?
right. The institution is not going to be as accessible as it is right now.
Right.
And there's some serious healing, some serious transformation that's
Mhm.
happening. Any event that Omziel is at, serious transformation. But man, that event the last one that you did at Nicholas, where so
Mhm.
many of us got into the water, that was
Mhm.
like that was more like, it was a more intimate, almost like a closed session. It was like an
Yeah.
initiation
Yeah.
for a lot of us. You know what I mean?
It-
Because
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
you
I was
know,
going
like
to talk about the breath work that we did too. Like
Yes.
I had told you afterwards, I put you to the side. I was like, man, the timing was off, and like people show up late, and I don't feel the breath work like was really there. Shit, but I'm telling you, brother, afterwards, people were coming to me. That
Mhm.
was beautiful. That was powerful. I've never had breath work like that before.
It was
Changed the game. Like it made me more alert, and oh man,
Yeah, it
everything. I
was
was like, that's beautiful.
powerful. It was
Mhm,
powerful, and it was again, my thing. It was teaching people how to access the technology that is their body. It's
mhm.
folks, if you come out, and that's why you're like $20. Like, you
Yeah,
better
yeah.
jump on that
Yeah.
$20.
You know what I'm
Listen,
saying? I know. Yeah,
listen.
let's
What,
just
what you
leave it
do?
like that, bro. We're helping folks out here. Let's also mention the Purple Sage Festival, which is happening
Right,
on June the 28th.
June 28th.
So what's happening there? We have artists that are coming on more and more every day. Somebody's like, "Yo, how could I get in?" We have Self Perpetual. His name is Daniel Martin. He has music on Spotify that has just come out on Apple
Mm,
and all that. He's so happy. It's happening for him, bro. He's blowing up.
awesome.
Sandra Smalls, if you know her, she's been to Nicholas Brooklyn before. She's
Okay.
with Cafunia and everything. She's got a regular spot like in the Marriott in Midtown Manhattan, overlooking Manhattan. And bro, she's a working artist, bro. Super talented, bro. Incredible. We also have another group that had just came on called Celestial Evolution. Wait till you meet them, bro. They are
Mm,
high energy. Got another
mm.
brother, Kevin Maynard. He comes from a group called 13 Cents Change. And he's sort of like a Bob Dylan old school flavor, so but they're great musicians. We also have MC Eli Costello. He's our
Bop, bop,
MC
bop, bop,
DJ.
bop, bop, bop.
For real, this guy is high level stuff, man. He's got
Mhm,
a fascinating story too.
mm.
When COVID came through, he started writing, and his writings got recognized so much that they flew him out to Europe, and he started speaking in front of huge
Wow.
crowds, and that was because of
Okay.
COVID, bro. Yeah,
What?
just crazy. But he's our DJ MC, man. He knows how to move the crowd for real. Then we have different vendors. Kura's gonna be there. Also, ARMEW is gonna be there. Maybe you might want to speak
Uh-huh.
on that a little bit, brother. Go ahead.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I'll be in the place. I'll be in the place. Armu axial release massage and energy works. I deal with the nervous system, and really, as always, I use the massage as work.
Okay, okay. I see you're coming a little in choppy. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but we had to get that information out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
ARMEW.
I said I use massage as a vehicle there, and
Right.
with the type of event that it is, we're talking. So to
Yeah, you're coming in choppy again. I don't know why. You're
I'm
cutting in and
coming
out.
in choppy
Yeah.
right now.
But that's okay. Look, people gonna check the website. Go to the website, omzielhealingsanctuary.com/purple sage. You can see it on the tabs. Just flip through it. You'll see what you're going to be expecting at the festival. And you're also going to see a tab that's titled Who'll Be There. And then you get to see all the artists performing, all the vendors, all the services, and everything. This is taking place on June 28th, and it's located in New Paltz, New York. Paltz. Paltz. It's a beautiful town up there. What I love about it, I didn't see a Dunkin' Donuts or a
Mm,
Starbucks nowhere, bro. Just small businesses, cafe, shops where you could buy a little something. Oh man, great vibe, great energy. And the place where we're having this event is at the Stone Mountain Farm, which is about
mm.
5 minutes or 10 from the actual town itself. And the stewards of the land are in charge of over 250 acres of land. They have access to lakes and waterfalls, and they're just open to all types of healing and different events like this. So we're gonna have a great time, and we're gonna give you 10% also. So
Mm.
tap into the website and look there, and the code that you're going to put on when you check out is clarity. That's it.
Clarity.
That's it. The clarity code. Here we go.
So
Okay. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you for tapping in.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you every day.
I know we went on long, but that's all right. We're going to cut
All
it up
right.
and do what we got to do.
All
Peace
right.
and love. Thank you.
Sure.
Cindy Ashby again.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. And again, as always, big shout out to Cindy Ashby.
Peace and love. Thank you. Thank you. Peace.